So we got a painting right here, and we're going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my more recent ones. It's called Intervention. The style's even a bit different. You did a fast motion picture of this, or recording.
Yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm. It's 48 by 36.
For sale.
For sale. Anyway, you want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
Let's try this. Let's flip this. What did you think of when you saw this, and what did you feel, and why this one when you're like, this one for sure? Because you're like, certain paintings you're going, no, I really want to know that one.
Because like it feels more relatable. Like the other school systems ones, I wasn't like really in the school system like you were. And this one, I feel like we were kind of more, or I was more a part of.
Gotcha.
And so I feel more with this one than I do with the school system one.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's more personal.
Yeah, it's more personal.
And relatable to you particularly.
Yes.
Got it.
And plus, I just always love what you have to say about your paintings. So.
Yeah, but you're not asking me to do every painting necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though I could say something about all of them.
Yeah. Right.
This one's called Intervention. This came from... So... I guess it's the tough part about this is we're doing a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like we're sharing stuff, and there's certain things I'm just like, I want to make sure my heart and my intentions are very in line with what God wants, not what I want.
Yeah.
Because I can go one way or the other. I can
Right.
sort of go, no, I'm not talking about this publicly. No way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not share about any of this private. None
Mm-hmm.
of it. And then the other side is like, no, we should share and be completely vulnerable in every detail. And it's, it's what I think and feel. So I'm not trying to hide anything. And I don't think either one of those extremes is on the money.
Yeah, I agree.
I think understanding that this is public and anybody can access it, and it's sort of timeless,
Mm-hmm.
meaning it'll last forever,
Mm-hmm.
technically,
Mm-hmm.
makes it so that when I get into these topics, I have to tread lightly.
Yeah.
And so as I'm talking about this, I'm praying, I'm like, okay, I'll share. So part of this is I'm estranged from my family. And what I mean by family is like mom, dad, and brother and sisters. And that tribe and group of people, there's been a break.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea came from like, while this unfolded, I remember coming to my parents and being like, what is going on? Are you like going to have an intervention with me? Like, what was coming out was very interesting, and I was like, what? I was confused. And so I remember I was talking to my parents in the backyard.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, what's up? Like,
yeah.
it was after I talked to my sister, and she was like, this is what everybody actually thinks of you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, how come no one's told me? And then I confronted my parents about like, this is what your daughter, my sister's claiming you all think about me.
Mm-hmm.
What's up? And my dad was like, no, not true. And my mom's like, well, and I'm like, wait, what? And then she very like, well, also mostly, you know how she is. She just talks, but it's hard to make her be quiet, or it's hard to get any words in. But I remember being like, but you're not just denying it completely.
Right.
So then when more time went by and more stuff came out and more actions were taken, it was like, oh, this has been going on for a long time behind our backs, and you've been thinking poorly and talking negatively and forming opinions without bringing them to me. So the idea of an intervention is like a group of people that supposedly love you, and they're like, see that you're struggling, and the power of the group or the tribe comes together and goes, this is when it's like done and meant correctly. So an intervention is supposed to be like a last ditch effort. And there's something about, it's easy to dismiss one person, but it's hard to dismiss a group when they're all supposedly care about you. And it's like, so the idea is like this group of love is coming and going, we really love you and we really care about you, but you're like on drugs, you're prostituting, you have a gambling addiction, and we've all tried to sort of tell you, but you've sort of went yeah to each of us. Well, now we're all together going, hey, what's up? Okay. There's also a movie where I saw Kevin Spacey was in. I don't remember the movie name at all, but he just lost his wife. Right, he's grieving, and this group of people is having an intervention. And I remember it was a powerful scene. He went like, "Who are you?" Like, "I'm grieving, you stupid." Like, you know, cussing, but like, I'm grieving here, and you are acting like my behavior is way off the mark, rather than just going, this is part of the grieving process. And I remember he sort of flipped the intervention, and everybody went, oh. Because the way they do it, not on TV, is they have some specialist, some like counselor that's going to be there and like try to hold a peace stick, and everyone, I don't know. I've never been through a real intervention, but the way I've seen it and heard about it is there's a professional mediator type person, and then everyone gets together and like, we have something to say, and they write letters, and the TV shows totally a little bit different. Same idea, but it's a little bit more salacious and, you know, Jerry Springer made for TV, or they edit out whatever. Anyway, so the idea is like, there is things being said about me and my family that no one still has confronted me. Besides, my sister sort of said it in this very like, and I'm like, well, what's the details? And number one, there are none, and they're just generalizations. Like a little bit like, you're an asshole. Like, everybody knows you're an asshole. I'm like, well, hold on a sec. Like, based off of what?
Yeah.
And if that's true, like, am I ostracized from the tribe for being an asshole? How do you come back to the tribe if you're an asshole? This is the problem with like being off and the way people operate that are not connected to God and seeking truth, is they just sort of generalize, make stuff up, hide things. And then the specifics are like very foggy.
Yeah.
And the right way to do things when there's a break is someone, you name the behavior, you don't like character assassinate them. Right? If you talk smack behind my back, I could go like, you're a gossiping piece of shit. Or I could go, hey, that thing you said behind my back made me feel betrayed.
Right.
I need you to own that, apologize, and then don't do that anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And then you can own it or not, or and that's the right way to do things. And was not raised that way. I learned that. Anyway, so basically, back to the painting is, Sanchez said this, like, I wish they had an intervention so you can serve them up. Like, you can sort of go to each one and go, no, and just check them all.
Totally. Yeah.
And like, I remember that, like, the feeling of that's like, man, that's a lot to deal with. Like, all these people that are supposedly on a unified front, and I have to dismantle all their arguments. And the problem with the whole concept is that when you have someone that's not using reason and they're using straight emotion and they're clapping back and they don't know it and they don't realize their ego's involved and they don't realize their basis. I mean, there's so much that they just don't get. There's like ignorance, like, and this has happened many times. This happened with your family. This is not unique to my family. It's just, once I found God and the gifts I've been given and the way that I've been asked to minister is to point out when people are acting poorly. And most tribes in our world don't do that. There's an implied rule, like, let's not hold anybody accountable.
Yeah.
And that's the same in my own family. And so what happened was I was like, nah, there's things that you're doing that are not okay, and I can point them out, and they're causing harm, and let me show you. And that, just that, and even in a calm way, is enough to go, screw you. Who do you think you are? Like, basically, like, don't you get I'm perfect? And don't you get your place in the tribe? Like, I'm the elder, and don't you get, like, you have your own stuff. And I'm like, well, let's talk about it if I'm doing something that's harming you. So this is the idea of a person, me, going to my family. Like, they're coming to me going, intervention. And me going, yeah, but you're monsters. Yeah, but, and I'm sort of repeating it, but there's something like, even if they all agreed, even if they all were like, yeah, you're a pedophile, let's say. I'm like, yeah, but first of all, I'm not. And just because you're saying it doesn't make it true. And you're saying it in a way that's just, you're all off. You all agree and have talked yourself into this fever. It's a lot like witch hunting. So this is, you could think of this as like, I'm being made the witch, but the real evil is in the witch hunt.
Right.
It's in the people who are trying to find darkness where it doesn't exist. And usually those people are because they're not looking at their own darkness. And so I have other paintings that are a lot like that are this idea that when we don't look at our own evil, we have to project it somewhere. There has to be a place for it. And often we just blame everybody. And so the break in my family came with like me going, something's not right here. Let's talk about it. And them going, how dare you say anything's not right at all? Screw you. We didn't like you. You're bad in a different way. You're evil. You're like, whoa. I was going, hey, something's not right here, and it can be better. And I can actually show you how to make it right. I've like studied this stuff and have implemented it. But it happened at Mesa too, where I went, I can make this better. We can make a better work environment. Here's how. Totally. And they went, how dare you say we need to be improved? Who are you? We're good already. We are already an amazing family. Let's only focus on the positive. And you could see it all over like Instagram. Like there's a thing called toxic positivity. People, therapists that know what they're talking about, like, oh yeah, that doesn't work. It's toxic. Yeah. Because you're not being honest. Yeah. And there's something like that going on. So this painting is, and this will never happen. The problem with this whole thing is like, they'd have to be brave enough to even do that. And they're not, nobody like, the way this went down was like years of behind the back. And I'm like, I didn't do that to you. I wasn't thinking bad and talking bad about you on your back. It's when there was a problem, I brought it up, and you didn't like that. Your rules are don't bring anything up. And just me bringing something up was enough. So there's like, there is no allowed conflict. You have to not have conflict. Yeah. You have to pretend there isn't any. Like, well, what if you're doing something that's causing harm? So there was many events, but there's one major event. My teenage son ran away to his mom's house, basically, in a really horrible way, and accused me of being a bad dad, basically. And that event was what sort of, I went, hold on a second, why doesn't anybody have my back here? And it was like, they all basically went, well, we kind of agree with him. Actually, we've been thinking this a long time, and now we have enough evidence to prove it. Yeah. Your 15-year-old son gave us, so you're bad and you don't deserve your son. And that was like, oh, my mom and dad think that, and my sister and brother and the sister, and they're like, whoa, that's super hurtful. It's hurtful that my son did hard, but it's extra hurtful when nobody who was supposed to have my back had my back. Right. Not nobody, you did. Sanchez did. But the list got short. Yeah. You know, your family took a lot of convincing. Yeah. And they didn't understand what was up. They played all kinds of games at first. Yeah. Like, we didn't want to talk about it because, like, what do you, this is, so that just showed me, and the call was to harden my heart for everybody who did that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. I went, nope, this is a very clear thing. You don't get to wiggle out of this and play gray and play like, oh, I didn't know. And you could have known.
Yeah.
This is easy.
Yeah.
All you got to do is ask. And even so much so they went, I don't want to know. They literally went, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
So and they thought they were being like neutral, which
Mm-hmm.
again is neutral sides the oppressor, sides the abuser, sides the one who's doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So this is like a dream or what would happen in intervention or what?
You were on the path of saying that they
This would never happen.
gave an intervention to Ryler, right?
Oh,
Isn't
I wasn't.
that what you were saying?
No, but that happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so actually that's a whole, they tried to have an intervention when Ryler tried to come back.
Right.
My mom, my sister, his mom, his grandma, cousins, they tried to have an intervention with Ryler to go, hey, don't go back to your dad.
Yeah.
He's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryler's like, what? This is weird. Him knowing that he should, and anyway, he's back and he's been back and he came back and he was very unhealthy. He was psychologically damaged. He was on all kinds of medications. He was overweight. He was in a bad way when he left for a year exactly,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much.
Yeah.
And they try to prevent him. And so that's a whole nother thing. There's a bunch of pity and self-pity, and their narratives are all off, and there's a lot of projection. They're like, he's a narcissist, from the person that's the most narcissistic in the family saying that. It's like,
Yeah.
and you can't have a conversation with someone like, you're a narcissist, no, you're a narcissist, no, you're a narcissist, when you're not even dealing with truth or reality or like evidence or how do we get to the bottom of this, and you're not even a hold of your word, and you're like proud that you're lying. And so there's just a lot, like it's extreme. And it's broken and it's sad and it affects me. It's one of these, like, I'm trying to process it in the right way. Like I don't like it. I'm not like, yay, like I'm right about this, or I understand exactly what's going on. I understand probably better than anybody I know about exactly what's going on. Maybe Sanchez can get it too on that level. I mean, we literally study this and I've watched it, but understanding something doesn't make it more bearable. It's like understanding that you're like, you could be a grief counselor and lose your child, and it's still hard to lose your child, even though you know the stages of grief, have seen it over and over and over. Going through grief sucks, and that's basically what's going on, and it comes out in the art I do. And I know it's universal. Estrangement from family it's way more prevalent than we want to imagine.
Right.
I mean, it happened in my own family, and again, this is front and center. My dad being just a weak leader, just not understanding his role and allowing nonsense in his own. So, like, his own brothers and sisters' family got broken up, and so this actually isn't a surprise based on the evidence. It just still sucks.
Yeah.
It's like watching an actually abusive person abuse, and then they abuse one more time. Like, yeah, you're not surprised. It sucks. Or a person addicted to something and they overdose. You're like, not surprised. Very much like Ellen, who it's like, where you root for her, you pray for her, you show her, you guide her, you're there for her, you give her many, many chances, and she still just can't get out of her own way. It's that. Humans have a hard time getting out of their own way, getting out of ego. So yeah, this is in some way I wish there was an intervention. I don't think it would go well though. It's just a feeling. It's like, if you would just stop and listen, like it's so amateur or lost that. It's a little bit like having a kid who doesn't want to get a shot. If you've ever been to the doctor and with a kid that is old enough to know what a shot is and just is convinced that it's way too painful to get one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, my one of my sisters was that way, and my dad's even that way. They're just like, no, like, nope. Like, the shot pain is so in their mind worse than anything I can think of that even the medicine that's going to save their life, they'll deny. So that's something that has gone on, like, with them. They think that I'm being a pompous asshole and attacking them, and really I'm going, look, you're causing harm, and it's not okay, and you're causing harm a lot of places in your life, and it's not okay, and I can help you, but I can't allow you to keep causing the same harm. So until you own that harm, like, again, you punched me in the face. You're like, no, I didn't. Like, bruh, I got a bruise, got a picture of it. I can show you. I can show you've done other places. And their answer is like, I'm going to punch you in the face again to stop you from telling me that I punched you in the face. It's a really bizarre mind. So this is what the reality is. It becomes estranged. It becomes broke, because the only thing that actually exists in real relationships and adults is free will. And free will means I don't have to be in a relationship with you. No matter how many years, doesn't matter what our titles are, doesn't matter for mother and son or father and son or brother and sister. None of that matters. You can free will go, nope. So that both parties free will have to be able to go, yes, this is important enough. Let's work it out. Okay, well, in that process, more stuff came out, and it's like, oh, it's not only are we not getting closer to working out, you're showing me more and more how bad you've been to me, and I didn't know it. So one person, I went, no, you can't be around anymore. And that same person is my mom talking about. I had to be like, Mom, you can't be around anymore. Well, she could if she went, oh, I'm sorry for being this way. I'm sorry for thinking so poorly of you. I'm sorry for accusing you of being an alcoholic when you're not.
Yeah.
And you apologize, but see, she's just doubling down.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
So if she's going, no, I'm allowed to think whatever I want, then it's okay. Well, you can't be around me if you think I'm a monster.
Yeah.
You just don't get to be around me.
Yeah.
And you don't get to be around my kids. You can't.
And like, but if you were a monster, why would she even want to be around you?
Right. Right.
So.
Right. And the real is that she is. And at least she has monster characteristics that she's just not willing to look at.
Yeah.
Like, again, accusing someone of being a monster who's not. That's monstrous. That's
accusing somebody of being an alcoholic who very rarely drinks is monster.
Right. Or just isn't. Even if they very rarely drink, just they aren't.
Yeah.
Like, just period. That's not ever been what I've been.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's not my pride going, oh, and maybe I should. It's like, I've thought about it, looked at it. Alcohol has not been a thing I've used to cope with, period, my whole entire life.
Yeah.
I've been well aware of the dangers of alcohol because of them. They're very sort of anti-alcohol. That I never used it as a coping mechanism, which is where alcoholism starts in general. You use it as a way to cope with something, and then you go, I need this, and that just I'm well aware of what addiction is in my own life, and that's not one of them at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, but again, false accusation. So there. If you're not willing to be wrong and go, oh, I was wrong about that, let's look at the evidence. If you're not even willing to go, how do we get to the bottom of anything? And this is where it's actually at. This is why it's so hard. And this goes in your family. When you don't understand that there is an objective truth, a truth outside of you and I that we can both look at and get closer to or farther from. And if you're in the mindset of, no, I can have a subjective viewpoint and that makes it true. My truth is my truth and your truth is your truth, and they can both exist at the same time even when they contradict. When you're in that mindset, there's no There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
It's like trying to convince a crazy person that they're crazy. What they end up doing is going, you're part of the conspiracy, right? If you were like convinced that the FBI was like sticking nanotechnology in your brain and like bugging you, and aliens they were in cohorts with aliens, and they were working together, and you're convinced of that, and I come along and go, hey, what evidence do you have? And you're like, name some stuff. I'm like, well, we can explain that evidence in a different way. And that sounds crazy and absurd. What that person does is go, you're in it on it too. You're part of the conspiracy. So now everything you say is demonized towards that slant. See, I told you. So that's what's happened. When you choose to demonize someone and don't listen to logic, then there's no talking to you. What you've done is go, oh, I shouldn't talk because everything I say is ammunition for your conspiracy.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to explain to them that holding to the position of you're adults, we don't get involved in arguments. I'm like, that's a bad position. You're taking a position and making it an absolute, and it's dangerous. And I was going, so if me and my sister were fighting in front of you, physically fighting, and let's say I'm actually the bad guy and I'm punching her and kicking her, and you would just sit there and do nothing because we're adults? And they went, oh, no. I'm like, okay, well, they changed it. And what I mean is, because they go, you would never do that. I'm like, well, so they're like, okay, well, a physical, I'd jump in. But any verbal argument, I wouldn't. I'm like, oh, so if I'm calling her a name, yelling her a name, I'm not going to say it on camera, but like the C word over and over and over.
Yeah.
You would not ask me to leave your house. You wouldn't jump in. You wouldn't go, hey, that's not cool.
Yeah.
You would just keep your mouth shut and turn your head away. And they went, this is why it's hard to talk to you. I'm like, because you're wrong? Because you won't admit like it's a bad place?
Because I pointed out your bad argument.
Yeah, because it's flawed. The real is it depends.
Right.
Sometimes you should jump in. And now let's argue with when. Because sometimes you shouldn't. Sometimes you should let adults figure it out. Or sometimes you should let kids figure it out. Sometimes you should stay out of things. That's true. But what they've done is go, no, absolutely. Oh, no, well, now it's like open for all kinds of problems. And that's what they've done. They've technically went, we're going to stay out of everything. Well, now you're like useless. You're not even like part of the game. And you're always letting the person who's being the most abusive be abusive.
Yeah.
And there's abusive people in the family. Super toxic, negative, gossiper. And they're like, that's just the way she is. Like, what? So, well, like, well, I can't be around this. And you're like, well, that's just, I'm like, the way you're letting adults deal with it is now you're not going to have those two adults in your life.
Yeah.
You're going to miss out on my whole family because you're not willing to make clear, like you're not willing to like hold the line of decency.
I feel like there's also like your parent is telling you to just put up with it and that it's okay.
Right. Yeah,
which is like
that's what they're doing.
What a parent should do.
That's not what anybody should do. Again, it's not just the parent. It's like any human. The real is we all should be looking out for each other. Yeah. Anybody. So it doesn't matter parent or not. Now they should have a higher role, but let's just assume they're just like a neighbor, just somebody. Like you shouldn't let your people talk bad about me, even if we're just neighbors.
Yeah.
You shouldn't let them gossip. You shouldn't let them call me names in front of you. You shouldn't allow that. There is a right and wrong. There's clear, objective, moral standards. And this is where they're going. No, there's not. It's just your opinion. Like, okay. And this is why when you don't have truth as a center, and I wasn't raised this way, I found this way to be right. And this is what the real is. What the real is I started to change and realize that there is a better way to live. And that drives people who live in the shady gray areas and to go, ugh. I don't like that. Yeah. And then their pride gets up. Yeah. And it's like they don't understand it's pride and ego. Right? Who are you? I'm nobody, but let's like you just are mad that I'm confident in that 2 + 2 is 4. and they're going, no, 2 + 2 is whatever you want it to be. That doesn't, no, it's not. And I can prove it. And I can show you where you don't even hold that to be true. So this painting is all that in there. Stylistically, it's just, I like the cuteness of the monsters, because these are heavy concepts, and there's something about doing them in a lighter, cartoony, fun way that makes them more bearable. It's a bit like what comedy does. Yeah. When you can sort of laugh at something that's true. And this is a painful truth that not all interventions are coming from a good place. Intervention doesn't mean that the group is right. It's the same reason why we can't have sort of a democracy without laws. In other words, like what's wrong with democracy if the majority votes? Like, what's wrong? Well, what if the majority votes for you, the single person, to die? Like, for no reason besides the mob voted. So that there has to be laws in place that protects the individual, even in a democracy. It's a something core. And it's something to this. Like, just because the group says something, just because everybody's saying something, doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
And we see that in society. There's a bunch of things. I'm not going to get into them, but there's, just because it's the trendy flavor of the month doesn't mean, and seems like everyone's like, what's the problem? This is 2022. Like, get with the program. Like, just because all you were saying it doesn't make it right or true or good.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. Do you have anything else to say? If you're watching this and you'd like to donate, go to the link at the bottom. Just kidding. If you're watching this and you want, if you're interested in any of this stuff, let me know. If you're my family and you so happen to watch this, like, let's sit down.
For real.
And have a conversation about what actually happened. Yeah. And what's going on. Like, but you need to be open to being wrong. Yeah. And I'm open to being wrong. Yeah.
Gulp.
But it's interesting.
No, you actually swallow.
Oh, I know, mine's fake. You
It should.
My mouth's dry. Hold on. Still fake. I just can't really do that.
Oh, frick. Okay.
Don't do it. No, go ahead.
No.
Yeah, you're good. We want to talk about anything else? No, that's it. Gallery. Pray about it. Be done.
I don't know. If you want to buy art,
come on in.
Come on over. We might be closed next month.
Always might be closed next month. Hopefully not. We probably won't be closed next month.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, we won't be closed next month.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
See ya.